Hey guys, Doghouse podcast is back. G Day is here Saturday at 1 p.m. Red versus Black team. Got a G Day preview with Seth Saunders from the Saturday in Athens podcast. We talk about some really interesting things about, first off, Georgia not being televised, what Seth thinks about that. Also, who he's excited to see at the G Day. A very interesting look at the future for Georgia football. Who Seth would have replace Kirby Smart if he decided to retire in the next 5 to 10 years. Very, very interesting question and answer on that. And as always, make sure to like, subscribe, share the podcast. That really helps out. Doghouse podcast is back. Got a great return guest, old friend from the show here, Seth Saunders with Saturday in Athens podcast. How are we doing today?
I'm great, Trey. It's good to see you, brother. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. So we got G Day is upon us. First off, are you going to G Day this year, Seth?
No, I'm not. So I got some family travel this year. I'm actually heading down to Orlando, doing the full family trip to Disney World during the my kids' spring break. So we will be at Disney World for 3 days, and then my son is playing in a soccer tournament called the Easter Cup, also in Orlando. So we'll be in Orlando for the week. So I will miss it. So of all the years for it not to be on TV, this is probably the one I'm most bummed about because I won't have any access to it. But yeah, just kind of is what it is, and seems to be the where things are going. And I guess the positive of it is at least the Dawgs are having one, right? Some programs have full on canceled it, so take what you can get, right? And I'm sure for the folks that will be in attendance, it will be majestic Saturday in Athens. Hopefully the weather holds off and is good, and everybody has a great day.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Yeah, I probably won't be able to make it either. I think I might have to go old school if I can find it on the Georgia Sports Radio Network.
Yeah.
Or so hoping there, and then there's been some jokes if somebody could do Instagram Live or YouTube Live. I don't know if they would take that down. So you never know, somebody might roll the dice with that.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think Kirby would have that snipped real quick, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, so speaking of that, how do you – I know it's landscape of college football, everything's changing all the time. So what's your thoughts on, as a fan, of not it being televised? Because I know that's been kind of a big thing.
Yeah, man, look, I kind of – I don't know. It's interesting. I was talking to a friend about this. I guess I understand the push behind it, right? Everybody's concerned about it essentially being advertising or whatever it may be. But I just think there has to be some type of, that it's got to stop somewhere. Like, we got to have access for folks to watch this stuff. And like, I feel bad for fans where this is one of the pieces where they can kind of see their team and enjoy their team that won't get to do it. So college sports is steady changing, man. And parts of it I don't love. And this is probably one of the parts that I don't love is the fact that, you can't tune in and watch your team play in the spring game and kind of get a little bite at the apple during this long, dry winter as it pertains to college sports.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I think being Georgia fan, that's just to give the whole lull of not having football for months. This is always something to kind of tune into. So I see why they're doing it. I don't really agree with it, but I was listening to a podcast with Dean Legge. He's saying maybe next year this could maybe change to be back on it, just because this content is like worth so much, and some people are looking forward to it. So hopefully that maybe they'll have at least some type of streaming option or something next year. But we'll see.
What do you think about, Trey? What do you think about this deal that like Dion was wanting to do, and Fran Brown had said he was open to it, of actually playing against another university, kind of similar to what you see pro teams do during training camp, which I thought was a really, really interesting idea.
Yeah.
And I think both universities, both programs have been okay with it. I saw the NCAA said they can't do it, which I feel like that's a conversation unto itself. Like, what teeth does the NCAA have anymore to say something one way or the other about stuff like this? Like, I feel like if you were Syracuse and Colorado, you just say, yeah, whatever, kick rocks. we're gonna play the game and like do it how we want to do it. I do wonder if they have concerns about live bullets per se with folks outside the program, but in some ways I feel like it would be, from an eyeballs perspective, a good thing. It's like, I would watch that. just to kind of see, But yeah, I thought that was a fascinating kind of push
Yeah.
to see that. And
Yeah.
man, the game it's just changing. Everything is changing and moving. And there are parts of it I like and agree with, and parts of it as a traditionalist, you just kind of yearn for the yesteryear, I guess. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see kind of what the landscape does and how the climate continues to progress.
Yeah, back to your question, I think NCAA doesn't have power anymore. I mean, they're getting sued all the time, and they're not able to make any of the ruling. But back to your question, I think that would be actually really good. It's the first time I've heard that. So let's just say if you had a Dion with his exposure and you played another big brand and maybe
Yep.
had a control scrimmage, not full,
Yep.
if you could have Dion or Ryan Day or something in the background, kind of control scrimmage, and they did it as not flag football, but stopping at contact just to see them move around and maybe have it at a neutral site. I think the yearn and the eyeballs on that with ESPN, it's all about ratings. I think that will be great for the spring, and maybe just have your big broadcasters in there and everything. I don't know. I think it'd be no brainer, but
Yeah, I had never even considered it or thought about it. And
yeah,
Dion kind of puts it out there on social, and then Fran Brown responds immediately and says, "We'll come,"
yeah,
which I think in so many ways too, I think is a commentary on Fran. Like, I love what he's doing at Syracuse. Obviously loved when he was in Athens and the things he did. He just seems like a rising star in the business. And I think you're going to continue to see big things from Fran. I think what he's doing at
right.
Syracuse is probably just the beginning.
Yeah, he's always spoken real highly of Kirby, which is great. But
Hmm.
back to it
Yep.
real quick on that. I just think it's all about recruiting, right? If you just think
Yeah.
about, hey, some of your top recruits, bring them in for that crossover game. It'll be
Yep.
great for recruiting. So sounds like a no brainer to me, but that's out of our pay grade.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
And then looking at G Day, so it's going to be 1 p.m. in Athens, Georgia Sports Radio Network, if you can get it. What are you excited to see for the game and any of the players that you've kind of heard are turning heads in the spring?
Man, I think the thing that's most compelling to me is this feels like probably the most uncertainty entering a season since 2020, just from a roster turnover perspective and everything that's having to get replaced. We've talked about this before on our show, but Seth Emerson did an article back in 2019 about returning receiver production and how it can be an indicative metric of how a team will look or how successful they'll be. And obviously it's not the end all be all, but if you look at this roster, Georgia had about 3,900 receiving yards last year, and they're only returning 1,800 of those. So you're looking at like 46% receiving yards returning, which is not super favorable. And it's a little bit difficult, I guess, to quantify when you kind of factor in the transfer portal and a guy like Noah Thomas coming in, you have Branch coming in, all these different things. So who knows how that will look? But I did feel like that group was obviously an area of concern last year. And do we feel like those concerns were addressed in this offseason? We'll see, right? And I think given that you're also breaking in a brand new quarterback with a receiver group like that, I think it's going to be interesting. Now, I think the tight end group is also fascinating. Obviously, a lot of talent there, a lot of potential there. Man, I think Lawson Lucky could be one of the breakout stars in college football if he is used and featured appropriately. I felt like his potential all last year was almost screaming that, hey, man, we're coming. And, he still had like 350 yards receiving. So he had a nice year, but I think that'll only continue to progress. And then they have a lot of other talent in that position room as well. So we'll see on that. I think the other thing is, look, as sexy and as intricate as football seems to get, it's a pretty simple game. It comes down to both lines of scrimmage. And so the Dogs are replacing a ton from a starts perspective on the offensive line. How's that going to look? The tackle play last year was not good.
Mm-hmm.
I thought as good as Jared Wilson was, and he's going to be an incredible pro, I thought SVP not being there from a leadership perspective, from what he does at the line, I thought that was missed. I didn't think that got talked about a lot. So that whole offensive side of football to me is interesting, man. I think that if Nate Frazier can protect the football this year, boy, do I love Nate. I
Yep.
just love his swagger. I love his toughness. Man, he just competes and so many things he did last year. You see that he gets it. And so, man, I can't wait to see the sophomore campaign that he's going to have. And then, man, let's flip to the defensive side of the ball, right? Losing a ton on defense as well, a ton of impact players. Who is going to step up at outside linebacker? That room got thinned out not just by the draft, but you have Damon Wilson transferring. So, like, what's that going to look like? How does Gabe Harris look? How does Chris Cole look? Can they fill some big shoes, obviously? And then, man, we talked about him a lot last year, and I think he had a good year, but I don't think he had the year we thought he would have. Dude, CJ Allen has got to have a year where he is in the buckets conversation. He just does. Right. That defense does not have a choice otherwise. Either he does that or they're going to struggle, in my opinion. So, I'm fascinated. I think KJ Bolden is probably one of the most exciting players in the country. Mm-hmm. So I think he's going to have to step in, obviously, and fill some massive shoes with Malachi Starks leaving. By all accounts, Jonah Laguero has had a fantastic spring practice periods. So, that's encouraging. And then, we got to see him a little bit in glimpses, but does Ellis Robinson get a bunch of run and take over that other starting cornerback position and really give you an option to kind of flip the field, lock down half the field, turn the ball over, all those type of things. So, for me, man, it's just it's the uncertainty. It's not really knowing or having an expectation of what they're going to be. I think we all feel comfortable that, and this is the transfer portal era, in that too deep, how deep are they now? I think 1 through 22, we probably all feel pretty good about it, but it's really that 1 through 44 depth where you start to figure out if you're elite or not. And so we're going to see, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm trying to go the non-Larry Munson the way I am. So the positives.
I like it.
It is. I was talking with Coach Hayes last week on Coach Hayes' film room, and he goes, I know Stacey Searles gets a lot of criticism, but let me look at it this way. He goes, this is his first year. He's got his dudes in the program. He's all recruited them. Mm-hmm. They're not Matt Luke guys. He goes, they're coming back with some snaps. Yep. And he goes, this guy gets after him. And, he did say, I'm kind of close to him. I'm close to his family. I guess they kind of grew up together in the same town and are affiliated. But anyway, is 4 or 5 guys with experience coming back. And he goes, of course, the team from the O-line from last year took a step back, of course, with all the stats you hear, north of 100 on rushing. I think they're like 87th in total offense. So if you give him one more year with his dudes, I'm sure there was a come to Jesus talk with Kirby Smart with him.
Yeah.
Then wideouts are going to look better skill players. Zachariah Branch, I've been hearing, is like you can't even really cover him from at least in some of the things I've heard.
Yep.
Noah Thomas is a big body guy. And I'm thinking of the length they have this year. Colby Young, giving him back with his issues. He's back. Yeah. And they got some other guys. Was it Talon Taylor? I heard he's been turning heads, doing well. So you got some guys that can just catch the ball and, hey, let's just bring it back 50% on the drops. Let's say, if we can only get 19 drops instead of 38.
Yeah.
So that positive. Yeah. And then the one that I'm really worried about, and I was going to ask you this because I asked him. So running back wise, for Nate Frazier, he's going to be the man. But all the injuries with the Robinson kids, you got Cash Jones back. Bo Walker's been turning heads. Do you think there's a chance? Would you take a guy in the portal after the spring just to add depth? Because they're just so light there.
Yeah, I think they got to look at it, obviously. I mean, both Robinsons, the health is up in the air, right? And so you just don't know production-wise what you're going to get. And I think Cash is great for what Cash offers, and that's a reliable blocker who understands the assignment. He's going to catch passes out of the backfield. But look, man, he's not going to have bulk carries. He's just not built for that. It is interesting, though, I think, Trey, and I was texting with a buddy about this like a month ago, but like, when is the last time, and we pinpointed it, but I'm going to ask you, when is the last time Georgia had a true feature back where you had one guy that got the bulk of the carries, where you're talking he's getting 80% of the run and is really legitimately gunning at 1,500 plus yards because of the volume of carries? Like, off the top of your head, where would you go with that?
I don't know if he got 1,500 carries, but I think the last like primary number one alpha back was probably DeAndre Swift. And I don't know if he got the 1,500. Might have to go back to like Nick Chubb. But the fact that last like the man was like DeAndre Swift. Like he was dangerous and he was going to get all the carries. That was to me. He's always been a
that's a
combination.
fair pick. But if you look at like actual volume of carries, Holyfield was there with him and had a bunch of carries. And so there was always kind of an A-B combo, even going back to Todd Gurley and Keith Marshall. So, dude, you got to go all the way back to Noshawn Moreno where they had a bell cow back that is taking all the carries. And look, some of that's on purpose. They want to split that up.
Yeah.
And so I just wonder if just from roster necessity, that may have to be the case for Nate this year. But the thing is, man, I just don't know if body type wise he's built for that. Although, in a lot of ways, he's got some Noshawn in him, I think.
Yeah.
They're both rangy, really great athletes, really both tough, hard-nosed runners, especially given their size and build. So, yeah, man, I don't know. I think the portal is something they got to look at just from a depth perspective, and they'll see how they come out of the spring practice period health-wise, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do think it's encouraging that Bo has had a good spring and all those things, but it's just, yeah, you want to have guys that have reps. I think at every position you want to have that. And so I think that is the shift in the dynamic. Were you surprised that that ATN left and declared? Because I was.
I think I was talking to my mom. She just said she follows it really close. She's like, that was a big blow for the depth. He goes, I think for that week or a couple of days, they're like, all right, he's our guy next year. You'll have him coming back, live experience, get him healed up. And when you took that away, you took him away, and now you got like Nate Frazier, the Robinson. It just made them very light. They're just lighter, thin at running back is the word, just very thin. And I'm kind of going back. I don't want to call out coaches, but the Crawford guy at running back coach is coming into his third year. He took a 3-star Bo Walker last year. That's it. And the year before, they're not getting these RBU guys anymore that George is known for. I mean, you could just, when you're in these kids, you can basically sell it. Now, Coach Hayes is telling me they've got some guys and looking pretty good that they could possibly get for 2026. But this is a big year for him recruiting wise. Like, you got to get 2 studs, like 4-star, 5-star guys on the team, or we're gonna step back another year on recruiting and get set back. That's my opinion.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because I think I've been very clear about this when I get the opportunity to talk about it, that I don't think Kirby Smart does anything that's not calculated. Right. And especially when he has media availability, I think he's always very careful and about what he's going to say and very precise about what he's going to say. And so I thought his comments at the press conference, I don't know if it was 10 days ago, were very telling when he was very forthright about the kids they're recruiting and kind of what it looks like when they lose one, and that it's essentially come down to this whole dollars and cents thing. And I think he's essentially kind of put it out there that, look, we want guys that have passion and grit and fire. Like, that's what we want first. That's a Georgia guy. We want a guy that's going to play for the G. I don't think he's ever going to come off of that, and I am perfectly fine with that. But I think the flip side of that is he's also becoming cognizant that, like, some of this is a dollars and cents game. And they're just going to have to engage on the NIL side probably differently than they want to, because they now know that they have lost guys strictly because of dollars. That's it. Like, like a guy was going to come there, but he got more dollars than somebody else. And so that's just how it is now, man. And so I do think that's a shift they're going to have to make philosophically if they do want to get some of the guys they've traditionally gotten. I just don't think with the market the way it is now, you're going to tell kids like, hey, man, come here. We're going to play great. We're going to prepare you. We're going to win a bunch, and you're going to go play in the NFL. It's not the same as it used to be. And if I'm being frank, I think Kirby is probably not going to be in it much longer. I really don't. Yeah. I think if he gets a third title, I think the window that he's going to be there is going to get a lot shorter. I really do. I just don't think he has the patience for how it is now. I mean, look, man, he's old school. His daddy was a high school coach.
Oh, yeah.
He mentored in the tutelage, was under Coach Saban. Like, he is of the old school. And I'm not saying he's not adapting and not doing what he has to do, because look, man, I think he's the best in the game right now, and I don't think it's close. But I just am saying, from a patience and quality of life perspective, I don't think it's his passion, right, to do all that and deal with all that.
Yeah.
And so I'm real interested to see what that looks like and how that progresses over the next 5 years.
I'm with you. I'm in that 5 to 8 year, and if he gets another one, and you could just see his demeanor has changed deep down, maybe close. Yeah. He's chippy. Yeah. This whole NIL, I know we beat it to death, but it is really like changed him a lot. You can kind of tell. Yeah. And thinking of that, I've always said the name as a backup. We want Kirby, Paul Smart, as you call him, to stay forever.
That's it.
Man, my first call is Dan Lanning on speed dial. He would be great for the program. Come on back. I know it might be hard to get him back. Anyway, he's the first one I'm like having a talk with. If Kirby's on the way out, that's who I like.
If Kirby left, that's who I would want. It's no doubt. Yeah. I mean, they remind me of each other in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. Plus, there may not be a better coaching story in college football than Dan Lanning's. I don't know. Kenny Dillingham was pretty good too, but Dan's story and the way he got into college coaching and kind of his climb, it's really difficult to beat. And I also just think, because of that, he really is his authentic self, which when you're that way, it makes it easy to recruit. And I think more importantly, it makes it easy to keep the attention of 18 to 22-year-old kids, because they know you're real. And I think that's his gift, and you're seeing it at Oregon. I mean, they're having no problem getting kids, and he's having no problem building culture. I'm going to tell you, though, Trey, let me ask you this straight up. If you are Dan Lanning, why would you leave Oregon, right, in the NIL era, with Phil Knight's billions backing you, and you essentially have a blank check to go after who you want, And I know a lot could change, obviously, right? There's this push to go to the Premier League model in college football and all these things with the top 80 teams and all this kind of stuff. And so we'll see what happens with all of that. And so maybe it is a rub to have to play in the Big Ten and deal with the travel and those kinds of things. But I don't know, man. I just think that in this era, given what is required to get kids in the program and keep them there, man, he's in a pretty good situation. So yeah, I just it'll be really interesting. But I'm with you. I mean, that's exactly who I would call and go after. He's who I would covet if it opened up, for sure.
Yeah. Back to your question, he is in the Big Ten. I mean, he's got a great setup. I mean, Oregon, like you said, great backing. I just think maybe him being at Georgia before, if he'd ever want to cross over and get in the SEC, he might love it there, and he might not want the stress, because I'm sure it'll come with that. But like I said, that would be my top name. I'm sure you can go after other guys, but
no, he's number one with a bullet for me. I would make him say no. That would be the first line of business if I was Josh Brooks. Is, hey, we're going to get Dan on the line, and he needs to tell us no before we move on to the next person on the list. So yeah, I'm 100% with you on that.
Yeah. And after all this talk, I think this would be a great transition for our great sponsor here. This helps out with maybe some of those G-Day jitters. BeefTequilaSeltzer.com, 0 carb, 0 sugar. They actually have a brand new coconut flavor coming out. I personally like watermelon, but coconut is one of the big ones. Also a sponsor of Boston Bruins. Learned that this weekend from NHL. But check them out. Great for the golf game, round of golf. Got spring break ending up. But and pool season will be here before you know it. But Doghouse 20, again, that's Doghouse 20 for 20% off. BeefTequilaSeltzer.com. Also check them out on Instagram and YouTube. And then Seth had another question, just because it is kind of a big thing. The House settlement coming up, where they're potentially going down to, I think, 105 players. It might take away the whole walk-on program. And then also, if they do something with this salary cap, if they can even do anything with the House settlement. So what's your thoughts on this kind of news that's coming up?
Man, I got to tell you, I hate any proposition that is going to eliminate walk-ons, eliminate that avenue for people. I don't like this, roster size limit, all these type of things. I just, man, how many kids get to be a part of the program, and some of them that escalate into pivotal pieces of the program that started as walk-ons, whether it's Aaron Davis at Georgia, Stetson Bennett, or you go outside of that bucket and you look at guys like Baker Mayfield, right? And so I just, man, and I'm biased. Okay, I was a walk on when I played baseball for my college team, and so like I think that avenue for that to get cut off, I would hate to see it, and I just think from a roster perspective, it's going to make things a lot more difficult. And then look, am I saying that how things are set up now with kind of the unlimited amount of transfers and really there being no rules and it kind of being the wild, wild west as it pertains to compensation and all these type things, is that also the right way? No, I'm not saying that. I do think there need to be some parameters. I thought Jay Billis had a lot of good thoughts on it. You know, Jay Billis went to law school. He's an attorney, worked in a law firm for a number of years before he kind of transitioned full time to doing the analyst game. And so I thought his thoughts on it were great. And he kind of just talked about, look, man, we just got to have guys sign contracts and we'll have buyouts in there and it'll be a 3-year deal and all this type of stuff. Because I do think that's something that a lot of folks don't understand is they're like, oh, yeah, you got a scholarship, you got a 4-year deal. Well, dude, that's not how it works. It's a 1-year deal with an option for the university to give you the scholarship the next year. And so, you know, it's got a 1 year with a university option if you're the player. And so I do think doing something more contractual would be beneficial. And then, though, you got to start talking about things like CBAs and player associations and all these type things. And I think people are kind of hand-wringing about that because, like, oh, it's college sports and XYZ. But look, man, the toothpaste is out of the tube, okay?
Oh, yeah.
College sports as we know it has been gone since 2020. And now we have to put some barricades around the ranch, right? Like right now, the cattle are just running around free. And we got to figure out some way to stabilize all those things. Now, what I will tell you about that is from the athlete side, I don't want to do anything that prevents them from operating in a free market, okay? Because that's always been something I was on the side of even before any of this happened. Was, look, if I come to Athens and I'm a stud, if I'm Stetson Bennett or back in the day, if I'm Aaron Murray or Noshawn Moreno or whoever, and Bob's Auto Outlet wants to give me $1 million to be on their billboards and run on their commercials, so be it, man. That's my brand, okay? My fellow student who plays trumpet in the marching band is not going to get punished for doing the same thing. So why am I dinged that way as a student athlete? Now, the flip side of that is, do I agree with, hey, Trey's the best player in the state of North Carolina, but he's never played a snap of college football, but we're going to guarantee him $8 million? I don't know about that, man, because then we're kind of getting to like a pay-for-play thing, right? And so I don't love that, but yeah, I don't know the answer, man. I wish I did, but I do hope there are more defined boundaries put in place where I think things are more even. Because I think what you're seeing is, and this was kind of easy to see coming, but look, man, you got schools that have many, many billionaires that are part of the endowment and now part of these collectives. And so look at a team like Texas Tech, okay? Texas Tech going to be fascinating for this upcoming season. They spent, I think, somewhere between $20 to $25 million in the portal and essentially almost flipped their roster. And they essentially said, look, we've got all of this oil money and all this backing, and we're going to go spend some of the cheese. And we think we can build a roster that can go get into the college football playoff and make a run at this thing. And so, you know, SMU, same boat. Look at SMU last year. SMU says, hey, man, we don't need no ACC TV money for a few years. We just need to be in a big conference. We'll take care of the money. Right. And it worked, right? And so I think those are things you're going to continue to see. And, yeah, that's just the landscape now. And so I think there does have to be some kind of uniform set of guidelines for, you know, the whole collective to function within.
Yeah. Definitely spot on that. I think maybe this whole salary cap, like if you bring it down to the conference, like for example with Georgia, like what, 14 million, where that'll kind of maybe make it more of an even keel, and you can't overspend with all the oil money teams. I think that would help. And then maybe they got to do maybe something old school with the portal if they kind of went back to is you can transfer once, but maybe you got to sit out a year or some kind of stipulation with that. And then with NIL money, make it like a 2-year contract or an employee type contract, like a 2-year, and you got to stay, or maybe you only get your money if you stay the 2 years, something like that, or some type of rules. But I agree with you totally on that.
Yeah, some kind of accountability for each side, right? Where
Exactly.
it's not just a flow of information. I think the other interesting thing with this too, Trey, is donor fatigue. If you're just the average guy that loves the University of Georgia and loves the Dogs, and man, I work hard to get my seat license and get my season tickets for me and my family, and we want to be in Athens between the hedges every Saturday, and I'm paying now an arm and a leg for that. And then I'm also getting asked for more donations because now we got to pay players. And like at some point, folks are like, I can't do this, man. Like I'm having a hard time providing for my family, much less getting dinged for all this different stuff over and over and over. And so I think that's a piece of it too that has to be recognized at some point is how are we servicing our fan base? How are we servicing the people that are supplying the dollars, And so the other piece of that is what's the ROI for these big donors? Like, okay, if we get player A and he goes out and face plants and we gave him $4 million, well, am I going to be a little bit more gun shy about dropping that $4 million the next time they tell me that this is who we need because they're the one player? So all that's going to be reality, and we're going to see how it all plays out, I think, as things continue to progress.
Yeah, for the common fan, I completely agree. Yeah, definitely on that. And like, for example, with G-Day, if they completely take that away, a family that you can take your family and actually experience a weekend or a Saturday in Athens. And now all these tickets are going up $200 average a ticket and all these big marquee games. A lot of families can't afford that, travel and lodging and everything.
Yeah, that's 100% right.
Yeah, Seth, appreciate you coming on again and give you a shout out here to how do we follow you on social media. And I know you still got the Saturday in Athens podcast here on YouTube, over 165 subscribers and growing.
Yeah, man, we're everywhere you want to find us. So we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of it. My daughter thinks it's hysterical that her dad is on TikTok, but
awesome.
she always asks, she's like, "Are you doing dances on TikTok, Dad?" I know I'm not doing dances. Bless everyone that's following us. I'm not doing dances, so that will not be part of the content creation. But yeah, would love if everybody tuned in on YouTube. We just transitioned to a new podcast network called Radcast Network, based here out of South Carolina. So we're excited about that. Some new things coming, and yeah, man, we would welcome folks coming to listen and engaging with the content. And same thing for the Doghouse podcast, man. Trey does great stuff, and we certainly always love getting to be on the show with you, man. And yeah, we certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate that, Seth. And when we have you on, we always have some of the best views. I think last year's we had over 1,000 views, so you always bring a big following. Yeah, definitely check him out on Saturday's Athens podcast here, 165 and growing, and also impressive having over 12,000 followers on Instagram. So that's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we appreciate the support. It's been an awesome journey. This is year gosh, I gotta think back on this now. I guess this is year 5 for us, and we're a little over year 5, which is wild. But it's been an awesome ride, man.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate your time today, and we're all excited for G-Day, 1 p.m. on Saturday.
Yeah, man. Go Dogs.
Yeah, go Dogs. Appreciate it.